crying. I tell every day. So, anyway, myself and two other locals, we're all born in Leesburg. We started Hero Homes. And we're a volunteer group that takes no salaries. We have no overhead. And our mission is dedicated to building homes for wounded vets in Western Loudoun. People who have fought for others' democracy and freedom. And there's only one reason why we do that. It's because this guy. So, I'll skip forward a little bit, backwards. Tony was severely injured in Iraq. 6.5 years in San Antonio Hospital, the VA. Over 140 surgeries. Tony got out of the hospital. Tony's a immigrant from Peru. His lifelong dream was to become a U.S. Marine and a U.S. citizen. Tony achieved those two things. He went to fight in Iraq, severely injured, spent all this time in the hospital, and came back home to where his father was in Maryland, in Montgomery County somewhere. Tony was looking for a home and a future. And when he got to Montgomery County, people treated him like crap. Called him monster. Asked him if it was worth it, how he liked fighting for Bush and Cheney, stuff like that. Well, Tony didn't want to be there, and I don't blame him. Tony was like, well, let me try to find something out in the country, maybe Charlestown, Frederick, somewhere like that. Had no idea probably where either one of those places were, it just sounded good. So he's out looking for Charlestown one day and gets lost. The 7-Eleven in Lovettsville. Just left Montgomery County where people were treating him like crap. Comes to Lovettsville. Hello, can you all tell me how to get to Charlestown? And they said, wait a second, you're Tony Porta. You're a hero, we love you. Tony's like, wow, how'd you know that? And they said, man, you're famous, man, we love you. Okay, how do I get to Charlestown? Okay, thank you very much. They said, hey, well, look, before you leave, why don't you go have lunch at Andy's? Well, okay, I like pizza. Sure. So he goes over to Andy's, sits down. People start coming up to him, hey, you're Tony Porta. You're famous, we love you. Tony's like, wow, what the heck? Let us buy you lunch. Tony has a nice lunch. That's a pretty nice place here. So how do I get to Charlestown? So, okay, I go up here and I go up here. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Well, Tony didn't get very far before he got lost. So Tony is like, darn, man, this is not Charlestown. I didn't even cross that river they were telling me about. So he's looking around and trying to figure out on his phone with his half a hand how to get to where he needs to get. And he looks up on the right-hand side of the hill and there's a for sale sign. God directed Tony here. He directed Tony to a place where the people would welcome him and create a community of the future for him. I was lucky enough to be chosen by God to be the project manager at Cody's house. I was in retirement, playing golf, poker every day, having a good time, working in my shop, not worried about too much, tee times and who my next tennis match was going to be, whether or not I had enough money to go play at the poker room. Pretty big issues I had. And a man told me he had a project for me to work on in Lovettsville. I said, well, sure, man. I'm always interested in a cool construction project. I grew up in construction. And he showed me a couple things, and I said, nah. And then one day he goes, how about helping this guy? He showed me a picture of Tony Porta. I said, I'm in. So when I looked at the man's contract, I said, dude, you realize you're going to lose at least $100,000 because there's a group out of New York that was funding Tony's job. And they said, here's the contract, you sign it, you're obligated to do this. My guy who signed it didn't have a clue to what he signed. So I was like, wow, you're going to lose at least $100,000. He said, what do you mean? I said, you see this, this, and this. So I went to the community, my contractor friends, and said, we need help supporting this vet. And every single person in the community I went to, they didn't ask me any qualifying questions. They said how much and when. We have a community here to support people like Tony. It's a unique community in Western Loudoun. I was born about 5 miles south. My family's been about 5 miles south for over 250 years, the base of the Short Hill. There's no better community to create a future for guys like Tony than right here in Western Loudoun. And that's between the Catoctin and the Blue Ridge down this little valley from here down to there. So with you guys on the team, we can bring a whole lot more people here. So now, I'd like to introduce.
So Jason, the house is over here. Tony's house is over.
Tony's house is Quarter Branch in Winter.
Quarter Branch in Winter. Okay.
Okay, we live right up the road.
Oh, it's great.
So you had to have seen all the stuff going on and everything. So Tony's a great guy, open to talk to, excellent speakers you're going to find out, and he is the reason, the motivation for us getting off our ass. I'm ready to give 100%, and I have been giving 100%.
You're working on your second house right now, right?
The first house was through another organization. I was a volunteer project manager. These guys from New York were funding it. I said, screw that. We don't need a bunch of New Yorkers telling us how to build here. We have enough money, we have enough connections, and we have enough ability right here. We don't need New Yorkers. So that's when we started last October. We got our 501c3 status. And by this October, we're going to give a house to a helicopter pilot free within 1 year of inception. He has no future. He's getting out of Walter Reed after 2.5 years. Spent 5 deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan, killing bad guys that would kill you all. And he has no future until we give him this future down in Western Loudoun, and the guy is out of his mind happy.
And I saw you got the footers poured.
Footers and walls are poured today, stripped today. We're moving forward. So I want y'all to listen to Tony's story about whatever he wants to talk about, but it's a very, whatever he tells you is going to be very moving, and a lot of God connections to me, and he's the reason. I say the 76ers had Allen Iverson. They call him the answer. Well, Harris Holmes has the reason. Tony Porta.
I know some of you guys. In 2005, I joined the Marine Corps. 2007, I was deployed to Iraq. And May 5th, my life was changed forever. I got severely injured, and I lost 2 of my best friends in Iraq. And in 2 days, I was sent from Iraq to San Antonio, Texas. I was never my life was changed so much. Me being from Maryland, going to a different state, no family at all, no family. My dad, my mom, my sister, they had to go to Texas because they didn't know if I was going to make it or not. When I got to San Antonio, Texas, I couldn't remember anything. As you can see, I have a huge scar in my head. I couldn't remember anything. The only person that I was able to remember was my mother. And I completely lost my memory. I had to start from scratch. I had to learn how to talk, how to walk, everything, all over again. In 6 years, I had 138 surgeries. Doing a skin graft, fixing my face, fixing my hand. So you can see everything that you see from my face, it does not belong there. It belongs to other parts of my body. Same thing with my hand. When I was burning, I was making a fist. I was holding my rifle. But my rifle was completely destroyed, so I was grabbing my rifle, getting ready to shoot back. But at the same time, I was burning it. You know what happened when skin melts? It's like a candle. So my hand was like a rock. They had to separate every single finger. Same thing with my knees. When I got to safety, my knees were bent and I couldn't walk. They had to separate every single skin on my body. So after 6 years in San Antonio, I was really struggling. I was really struggling because I had a lot of friends. But it wasn't home for me. My entire family was in Maryland. So after 6.5 years, just being in the hospital, in the house, I cannot go outside too much. I don't like the heat. I don't like the sun because I cannot sweat anymore. If I sweat, I can get I can die basically because inside I kind of burn. I'm burning inside when I sweat. because I cannot regulate my body temperature anymore. So San Antonio, Texas was great, a huge military town, about 116 degrees every single day. I wasn't going to handle that for a long time. I used to get blisters just by opening my car because it was so hot. And talking with my wife, oh, I have a lot of you guys know my son. My son, Kenneth Charles, I named him after my two friends that I lost in Iraq. When my wife told me that she was pregnant, I told her since the beginning that I was going to name that child Kenneth Charles, even though I was 100% sure that it was going to be a boy. Because my friends, one of my last surgeries, it was really huge. It was, I had so much scars on my face that I couldn't move. I couldn't move at all. So what the doctors had to do was, the only area that didn't get burned was my part of my chest and part of my back. The doctors put a huge balloon inside my skin. That was a huge surgery, and they kept inflating them with saline twice a week. So until it got to this point, like a huge balloon inside my skin. So after a couple of months, they removed that balloon, and with that extra skin, they flipped that skin to my face. That was a big surgery because everything was open here on the sides, and it had to be there for like 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and that was a huge surgery. So one of those days, me being in the hospital, I was really down, and until my wife told me that she was pregnant, and that day my life was changed forever. That was one of the happiest days in my life. And that day I had a dream. My two friends telling me that it was worth it to keep fighting. And they told me that that boy was going to help you out. So I knew that day that he was going to be a boy. Okay? He was a boy. I was injured May 5th. And May 7th, I was in they medevaced me May 7th to San Antonio. I was in San Antonio May 7th. I was in a coma for 6 days. The first day I woke up was on my mother's birthday. My mom was with me since the beginning, and she kept telling me every single day, please wake up on my on the day of my birthday. And yes, I woke up May 11th, my mom's birthday. I woke up, I didn't know where I was. All I was thinking, the doctors told me that I was trying to get up and talk to my mom because she kept telling me that it was her birthday. I couldn't talk it that day. I opened my eye, my mom was talking to me. The following day, May 12th, I went back into a coma for 30 days. So May 10, May 11, that's a huge day for me. I was planning to medically retire May 10th. May 11th on my mom's birthday. And I had a huge present from God. My son was born May 10th. He was born in the same hospital where I was getting treated. So I retired in that same hospital. So I had the chance. My son was on my retirement. It was a huge day for me. I had all my doctors. I had doctors from my wife, several nurses with my wife. That was one of the happiest days in my life. But May 2012, I decided that I couldn't stay there any longer because it was too hot. I couldn't enjoy my son. I couldn't even go outside. During Christmas, I was doing barbecue outside with 75 degrees. So I told my wife, I need to go back home. So we moved back to Maryland. I was living with my parents. But then I realized that home wasn't home anymore. I had a lot of complications with my neighbors because I couldn't sleep at all at night. I have really bad dreams. So started having complications with my neighbors. I started having complications with with a lot of people. And I told my wife I cannot stay any longer. I want to go back to San Antonio. She told me no, you can't go back because it's too hot for you. And I have to be careful with skin cancer also. So I told my wife, let's go north. Let's go look for something smaller. I was looking I was looking for Charlestown, but that was too small. You know? So Frederick was too big for me, and one day we got lost here in Loversville. My wife loved it, and I loved it. A lot of great people. A lot of people knew me because I did an interview a couple months before I found this town about when home is not home anymore. I had to do it because it wasn't only me. There are a lot of guys that are a lot worse than me. I got burned. I got burns all over my body, as you can see. Lost of my right arm, lost of memory. I have a really bad PTSD and TBI. But there are many guys that are a lot worse than me. Some guys are missing 3 limbs. Some guys are missing 4 limbs. Some guys, some guys are a lot worse than me. So I never complain about my injuries, but I used to complain a lot about people because they were not fair to me. They were not fair to my son and to my wife. I could handle it if they were talking trash about me, but when my family was around me, I used to feel awful. So that's how I found this town. I fell in love with this town. I moved here in 2013, and I was renting a house for. I decided to rent a house for a year, just to make sure that this was the right town for me. And surely was. This is a great community. I have a lot of great support from a lot of my neighbors, people like you guys here. And I met an organization that was willing to help me build the house for me. The house for me cannot be a normal house. As you can see, sometimes I cannot regulate my body temperature anymore. So sometimes I could be really hot, and 5 minutes later I could be really cold. So as you know, if you play with that thermostat a lot, your bill is gonna keep getting higher and higher and higher. So Jason here, he built an amazing house for me. The main thing was temperature in the house. Since I cannot regulate my body temperature anymore, sometimes at night it could be really hot and I could be sweating inside, and that's not good. So I can regulate the temperature in my room. My son's room could be 60 degrees, 75 degrees, and my room could be 60, the way I like it. So that's a huge help. That's a huge help. And I love my house. Jason here, he went way beyond his job. He did a lot of great things from a lot of great friends. And now it's my turn. I want a lot of my fellow veterans to move here because this is a great community.
Bring them.
Like I'm telling you, when I moved here, I saw firsthand that home wasn't home anymore. But just imagine when a guy missing 4 limbs and if a guy behind him is talking trash about him. It's not, it's awful. So I have a lot of friends that would love to move somewhere where they can be happy. I'm happy, and a lot of my friends can be happy here too. But that's my job. We cannot do that without your help, without this community. When I got the keys from my house, I got so much support from my neighbors that I felt that I was home, and I'm home. This is my home. I hope I die here, and I hope my son enjoys that house because I'm enjoying that house so much that I'm happy every single day. I still have a lot of problems, but I'm happy. I decided I decided to go back to school a long time ago, but I was really struggling. So now that I'm done with school, I'm working, having a nice life. I'm just living day by day. 'Cause with the 138 surgeries, my body's not the same anymore. I'm only 29. I got injured when I was 20 years old. When I was 20 years old, instead of being outside with my friends, I was in the hospital for 6 years. So now I want to be happy with my son. And when I go outside, I don't want my son to be thinking about what other people think about me. My son, he used to join. He started T-boning this year, and it was fun because I'm afraid of children because, as you know, children could be, they ask a lot of questions, you know. And but when I moved here, they were kind of prepared for me. I didn't have to get used to them; they got used to me. And that's what I like. When I started going to my son's games, I felt normal. I felt normal. Things that I don't do when I go back to Maryland. When I go to a mall, when people don't know me, it's just awful. So my wife have to hold my hand. I have to take medications because when people start looking at me in different ways, they start looking at my son in different ways. You know, I get angry, but I don't do it. I don't. It doesn't happen. So please, you know a lot of people. Invite them to go to Heroes Home website. They are doing an amazing job. They don't get paid. They just want to help people like me. Like I'm telling you, I'm not the worst guy outside. I'm not the worst guy outside. There are a lot of guys that are way worse than me. So that's why I cannot complain. At least I can walk and I can drive. There are a lot of guys outside but they cannot walk. They cannot eat by themselves because they have no limbs. But they have families and they want to move to a community that will accept them the way they are and because they want to be happy too. Please, if you can help Hero Homes, they do an amazing job. And if I can ever do anything for you guys, just let me know. And I'm always gonna be there. Always. Thank you so much for you guys listening to me, and I really appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.